测试过。
哎呀，好痛！1 2 1 2 splitter test 1 2 1 2 1 2 splitter test 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 1 2 1 2 splitter test。
Good morning again. Thank you for joining us for our daily press. As you can see, I am joined by Yanis Exarchos, who is the CEO of OBS, Olympic Broadcasting Services, responsible for sending the games around the world to hundreds of millions, even billions of people. So we'll come to a presentation by Yanis in a minute about broadcasting technology and so on. Let me just give you a couple of very quick usual messages. President of the IOC is actually in the mountains today. He's at Zhangjiakou and Yanqing. He's at women's snowboard halfpipe final this morning. Men's alpine combined slalom segment this afternoon, and then freestyle skiing mixed event, mixed aerials at Zhangjiakou. And a couple of very quick entrees for tasters on broadcasting. As I keep telling you, Timo will be here next week on Wednesday to give you the kind of fuller details, but I'm told that in China, following the 4th day of competition, Beijing 2022 has already become the most viewed Olympic Winter Games ever in China. And have a little figure from the US, NBC reporting that the Beijing Olympics on Peacock, which is a digital channel, has delivered its best ever 6-day usage period. So hopefully the broadcasters continue to be happy. Okay, let me pass over now to my colleague Zhao Weidong, and he will introduce his guest as well, or the one we have Huang Chun, I think. But over to you very quickly, Mr. Zhao.
好，谢谢马克。
Okay,
大家
thank you,
上午
Mark.
好。
Good morning,
很
everyone.
高兴再次和大
I'm
家
very
见面。
happy to
刚
see you
才
all today
马克
here.
先生
Just
也介
now,
绍了，
Mark
在我们峰会场
introduced
视频
that
陪伴大家
online
的，
with us
依然是
today
我们
is
疫
still
情防
Mr.
控
Huang
办
Chun,
公室的
the
副主任
Deputy
黄春
Director
先生。
General of the Office
那
of
么今天
Pandemic
的主题
Prevention
呢
and
是
Control
赛
of
事转
Beijing
播。
2022. Our focus today
我们
is
想呢，我们
broadcasting.
大家可能记忆当中还能
I'm
够
sure
记
you
得
all remember
，1956
that in
年在意大利
1956,
科尔纳提
in
丹
Cortina
佩佐举
d'Ampezzo,
行的第
the
7届
7th
冬
Olympic
季
Winter
奥林
Games
匹克
was
运动会
hosted,
第一次进行了
which was
电视直播。
first broadcast on
从此
TV
呢，
for
随
the
着转
first
播技术
time.
的进步，
Ever since
通过
then,
电
with
视
the
音频和
development
全
of
媒
the
体平
broadcasting
台，
technologies
赛场
through
上
the
无
TV
数的
screens
动
and
人
the
的故事
multimedia
飘
platforms,
过了五湖四海，
countless
传入
stories
了
on
千
the
家万
field
户。
of play was taken to
那么
tens
我们也
of
很高兴
thousands
地
of
看到
households
2026
across
年
the
呢，
world, and
科尔
we're
纳提
very
丹
happy to
佩
see
佐呢
that
将会
in
同米兰再次
2026,
举办冬奥
the
会。
Winter Olympic
就在这
Winter
几
Games
天，
will
我们在荧
again
屏
be
上
hosted
可以
in
看到很多
Cortina
动人的故事。
d'Ampezzo, and just like
我们看到了
the
宁
past
静
few
武术
days, we
8届
still
元
saw
老
such
德国老将
stories on the
佩西
screen,
施泰因，他在
including
诠释
Claudia
热爱
Pechstein
可
from
抵
Germany,
岁
who
月
has
漫长。
competed in 8
我们还看到
games in
战
her
胜癌症、
in her
重
40s.
回
He's
巅
still
峰的
showing us how
加拿大
passion
选手
defeats time.
帕罗特，
And also the
他抒
athlete
怀
from
我
Canada,
在享受
Max
赛场。
Parrot, who defeated cancer,
我们
came
还看
back
到
to
首
the field
登
of play and
奥赛
showing how
拼
much
下
he was
银牌的
enjoying the
中国小
competition.
将
And
苏一
also
鸣
the
感
young
慨
Chinese
能
silver
与顶
medalist
级运动
Su
员
Yiming
同台
was
竞技
saying
很开心。
how happy he was to
还有
compete with top
那对
snowboarders. And
挪威
also,
冰壶
we
混
all
双夫妻
remember
组
the
合
smile of the
斯卡斯利恩
Norwegian
内
curling
德
couple,
雷格腾比
Christine
赛结束时，我
Skarsling
看到了
and
他们牵
Magnus
手时的会心一
Nijogotn.
笑。
After the
这样感人的
the
故事每天都在
completed
发
in
生
their，game
冰雪
in
的
their
寒冷
competitions.
与人类的温
Such
情，
touching stories
每天
happen
都在
every day
碰撞。
where the
这
coldness
就
of
是
snow and ice
奥林匹
collide
克的
with
魅
the
力。
warmth of
我
human
衷心地祝
emotions
贺
every day, and
所有
that
运
is
动
the
员
power
在竞
of
技赛场上
Olympics. And I sincerely
超越
wish
自我
all
的同时，
athletes
也能够
to
享受
enjoy
比
the
赛，尽
competition
情
and
欢
have
乐。
fun while going beyond themselves in the
下面
field
我
of
通报
play.
一下有关的情
Now I'd
况。
like to
首先是
brief
赛
you
事
on
情
the
况。
latest
昨天
information.
9
First,
个
about
竞
the
赛场馆分
competition.
别进行了
Yesterday,
13个小项
13
的比赛，
events
产
was
生了6
held
块
in
金牌。
9
今
competition
天
venues with
9个
6
竞赛
gold,
场馆将
and
进
today
行
12
12个小项比
events
赛
will，be held
预计
in
产生8
9
枚金牌。
competition venues with 8
再来通
gold
报一下
to
防疫
be
情况。2月
expected.
9日
About
0
the
点到
pandemic
23点
control and
59分，
prevention
机
between
场入境
midnight to
12人员总数
23:59
累
on
计
the 9th
61
of
人，
February, we had
其中运动员
61
及随队官员32人，
inbound
其他利益相关
participants,
方29
including
人，
32
经海
athletes
关检
and
测
team
后
officials
复
and
检阳性
29
6
other
人，
stakeholders. 6 were tested
其中运动
positive
员及随队
after
官员4人，
confirmatory
其他利益
tests,
相关方2
including
人。
4 athletes and
2
team
月9
officials
日
and
0
2
点到
other
23点
stakeholders. And
59分，
during the same
闭环内
period, a
核酸
total
检
of
测总次数71516， 其
71,516
中运动
PCR
员及随队
tests
官
were
员
conducted within the closed loop,
6660，
including
其他利益相关方
6,664 athletes and team
64856，
officials and
复检阳性3人，均来自运动员及
64,856
随
for
队官
other
员。
stakeholders, with 3
北京冬奥会入境
positive
12人员和
cases
相关
from
工作人员
athletes
均
and
实
team
行闭环
officials,
管
and
理，与
all
社会面完全分
participants
开。
and staff
最
of
后通
Beijing
报一下天气情况。
2022 were subject
预
to
计
closed
今天白天
loop
各赛区
management
以
with
晴
total
转
isolation
多
with
云
the
天气
public.
为
And
主。
finally, weather.
北京赛
Weather
区
today
最
in the
高气温
competition zones
9
is
度，
mainly clear to cloudy with a
最
high
低
of
气温
9
0 度。
degree and a low
延
of
庆赛区
0
3点中
degree
午
in
前后
Beijing,
阵
and the
风
mountain top
是
gusts in
10到
Yanqing
12
around
米每
noon
秒。
of
张家口
10
赛
to
区多
12
云天
meters
气 情。
per second, and the
通
weather
报完
in
毕，谢
Zhangjiakou
谢
is
大家。
cloudy and sunny. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhao. And as we always do, we have Mr. Huang standing by for any COVID questions later on. But let's now go to Yanis Exarchos to give us an overview of some of the broadcasting technology and innovations here at these Games, which are pretty impressive, I think. Yanis.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much, Wei Dong. It's a real pleasure to be meeting with all of you colleagues today and share with you a few of the things we have been doing as broadcast community to bring the games to as many people around the world, especially younger people, leveraging all new technologies. I would actually like to start with something that Mark mentioned, even though Timo and ITMS are going to be presenting next week some findings from the measurement from around the world. It's still early days. However, he mentioned two things. First, in China, the games are already after the fourth day the most viewed Winter Olympic Games ever, Olympic Winter Games ever. And also that in the United States, Peacock, the over-the-top, the streaming platform of NBC Universal, has had its best ever 6-day usage. That on top of the fact that NBC has been dominating also every primetime night since on traditional television. Why do I mention these things? Because these showcase the shift in the way content is being consumed, and of course the Olympics are being consumed. The Chinese broadcaster, probably the largest broadcaster in the world, is no longer called CCTV, China Central Television. It's called China Media Group, and that goes to reflect that its mission and operation is much wider. It's leveraging all different types of distribution and consumption of content. 4 years ago, the big platform of NBC Universal Peacock did not exist. So all these seismic changes that take place in our world really inform the work that we do in producing the games and in providing content to our broadcasters. Even though we have been through this difficult period of pandemic, our commitment to our broadcasters has been firm to deliver the most innovative games ever, to go ahead with most of the innovations we had in mind, despite of the limitations that the pandemic was creating on the operational front. So this is the first winter edition of the games that we fully produce natively in UHD HDR, in 4K with HDR. We do a significant amount of content also on 8K, and those of you walking in the lobby, you may watch the impact that 8K has on this huge screen that we have. On the level of quantity of content, we will be delivering to our rights-holding broadcasters more than 6,000 hours of content. As you probably know, the competition itself is less than 1,000 hours. So all this additional content is really content that's geared towards feeding the needs of digital broadcasting. Those are alternative shots, alternative ways of producing for different types of media and platform, telling stories of the athletes behind the scenes, producing features of the athletes, interviews with the athletes, all these things that make the narrative, the storytelling of the Olympic Games and the Olympic athletes different through digital media. In Tokyo, as you recall, we produced more than 10,000 hours. We touched actually 11,000 hours, and I must say that 6,000 hours for a winter edition of the Games is really a very high number. It's, as I said, 6 times more than what the total duration of the competition is. In addition to that, for those of you following the coverage, you will see that we have introduced a number of data-driven innovations. You will see that in every single coverage there are a number of new elements of measurements, data information that help people understand better what it takes to perform at this level. Many of them in real time, many of them in collaboration with our partner, Omega. We have been working for years with them to develop all these new solutions. You will see that we have introduced 3D replays, the famous matrix effect, across every single sport. So in most winter sports, this has never been used before. We use virtual analysis in a number of sports, again, to introduce more, and I would say more the casual viewers, those who are do not have such an intimate knowledge of the sports, and understand how the sports work. I must underline that here in China, as was to a very big extent also in Japan, we benefit from the fact that we are dealing with an environment which is very advanced on the technology front. China is probably one of the most mature countries in terms of usage of 5G. In Tokyo, we tested 2 or 3 cameras operating in 5G in the opening ceremonies. Here, across the different sports, we will have more than 20. So that shows you the very, very rapid adoption of new technologies. I would also like to particularly highlight not just what we produce and what we show, but how we do that. And there we have been talking many times about the adoption of cloud-based technologies. Why is this important? Because I know that cloud is a very cloudy term. Why is this important? Because essentially it allows to produce remotely, it allows an easy transmission of signals and do a lot of the things that we do in our job without needing to be present in the country of hosting the games. In Beijing, we have 32% less physical presence of broadcasters, which is enabled primarily by using virtual and cloud-based workflows. 32% less compared to Pyeongchang. The amount of content that's being produced, it's much, much bigger. We have 4 times more connectivity going out of the IBC than we had in Pyeongchang, which reflects the amount of content. But this now can be done without needing to transport so many people, so much equipment, has so much operation in the host city. Huge benefit for the sustainability of the games, for the host countries and broadcasters themselves. Also, you know that in Tokyo we introduced a number of initiatives that have to do with remote fan engagement, especially helping the athletes feel that they are surrounded by an international audience and also connect with their friends and families. This proved to be one of the big successes of Tokyo. Athletes absolutely embraced it and loved it. So in Tokyo, we did it for a few sports. We had technical limitations. Here, we have none. We do it across all sports. We give this opportunity to as many athletes as we can. As we speak, we are already preparing for 650 such moments for athletes. There will be many more. And we have delivered already more than 70 on the 4th day of the Games. And these capture some of the most emotional moments of the Games. This has to do with the side of broadcasting the games for our rights-holding broadcasters. Let's move a little bit to what we do on our own digital platforms. Again, you may have heard that as part of our ongoing digital strategy of the IOC, we have consolidated all Olympic handles on social media, and we have consolidated all our own platforms under the banner of Olympics.com. And here, Olympics.com is delivering the international experience for the Games. It does not carry the signals of the Games. This is with our rights-holding broadcasters. But it is the destination for people to know what is happening when it's happening with news, live blogs, story about the athletes, and so on. As of yesterday, this platform has already surpassed the unique users of the total duration of the Games of Pyeongchang. We have 45 million unique users. It's more than we had in Pyeongchang, without having on the platform the host country, unlike what was the case in Pyeongchang, because this is being addressed by the website of the organizing committee. Top countries in terms of visibility are the United States, Japan, Canada, Russia, and Korea. We are very satisfied with how it's going. It will for sure surpass our targets and our expectations, again, without counting the amount of people in the host country. On the social media front, which is another huge area of attention, we have until yesterday a total of 2 billion engagements across all the social media handles, the Olympic social media handles. And since the start of the Games, we have added 5 million new followers. In the duration of the Games of Tokyo, we added 10. We need to understand that the impact of a winter edition of the Games is not the same as the summer edition because of the number of countries' interest and number of countries participating. So these are numbers that really satisfy us very, very much. I would particularly like to highlight the effort that we're doing specifically in China, obvious, a very, very important destination for us digitally, where we do dedicated content. We're using most of the digital platforms of China, which prove extremely popular with the content that we serve. The video that we did for the Chinese New Year, I think, was by far the most consumed and viewed video of any sports entity in China during those days. And I would like here to highlight that most of the traffic is also happening on platforms which are very, very much geared towards the younger generation, especially Gen Z. And I would like to single out here TikTok and Douyin, who seem to be driving most of the traffic on social media of the Olympic conversation. I will stop here, and I would be very, very happy to take any questions or clarify any points.
Thank you very much. As ever, we will take all questions on all subjects, but let's hopefully start with a few on this topic, and then we'll move on. But yeah, gentlemen, there after that. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm a reporter from China Global Television Network, that's CGTN, from China Media Group. My question is, on February 5th, in the press conference on the cooperation on the opening ceremony, you cooperation with the General Director of the opening ceremony, Mr. Zhang Yimou, you commented on his performance and your cooperation and coordination for this ceremony. But the question now is, how do you evaluate the cooperation now for the whole broadcasting service during the Olympic Games, especially the Chinese stakeholders and including the China Media Group? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, it's always a great opportunity whenever I can speak for our collaboration with Zhang Yimou. This is one of the happiest collaborations that OBS has ever had. Those are always complicated collaborations with the creative teams of the opening ceremony, but if I go back to history, probably this has been one of the most successful ones. There have been full alignment of the vision. There has been full alignment about the execution, about the approach. I think that Yimou himself was pretty vocal in saying that he was very satisfied. We're even happier that we have already engaged and we're planning for the closing ceremony. So this is an ongoing collaboration, and we will try to maximize the effects and the opportunities that that technology is providing to us. You're correct in noting that the excellent collaboration with the opening ceremony team was not a single-out phenomenon. We are capable and we are able of delivering all these things in Beijing, despite the pandemic, despite the closed loop, because we have had for many years such a close and excellent collaboration with the organizing committee, especially on the level of infrastructure. We all, I think, work and share this building and its facilities. Our colleagues from press can see the quality, but it's the same with us. This facility, the facility that we have in the mountains, are probably the best we have ever had in a winter edition of the Games. In every single venue, we have excellent facilities. We have very reliable 5G connectivity. We have, details like great platforms, great commentary positions. These may sound as details. They are super important for us to be able to deliver what we do and focus on doing the best possible coverage. This is not a foregone conclusion. We have been in many places which are mature in terms of venues for Winter Games, where things were not as ready or not as reliable as we have here. So the infrastructure that we have is top-notch. The commitments that we had for unfiltered internet, I think you're also experiencing that, which for us is very important to use all these tools that we use to do our job, have been working flawlessly. Very, very important that we have to struggle with that. I hold every day briefings with all the broadcasters. I think the only technology issue that was brought was, I think, the Wi-Fi in one hotel. I don't recall any games where there were no technology issues. So all these things may sound as details, but it's what allows us to do the job that we do unhindered. So take my hat off, and I thank the organizing committee for the efforts they are doing to facilitate our work.
Thank you very much. Yeah, let's take the guy in the yellow sweatshirt. Yeah, and then we'll come across.
Bonjour, Emmanuel Pionnier from AFP. Question for you. Tuesday night, the figure skating medal ceremony was postponed. Yesterday, you told us that there were some legal issues. Tonight, we had some reports saying that it was the doping case involving Kamila Valieva. What kind of information do you have? Can you confirm those reports? And what can you share? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm obviously, as you can imagine, I'm not going to comment on all sorts of speculation that I have also seen overnight, and that speculation will continue. As I said, as you said, we had a situation arrive yesterday at short notice, has legal implications, and I'm not, and I hope you would appreciate, I'm not from the podium of a press conference going to comment on a legal case because it wouldn't be appropriate. On the wider issue, you said a potential doping case, and I think that's complete speculation. But in a general point, what I would remind you is that very much that the IOC delegated both testing, management, and sanctioning in doping cases to ITA and CAS to avoid even the appearance of conflict of interest, and so I won't be having anything more to say on that. You can ask me many, many questions, but it's an active legal case, and I would refer you to other partners. Yeah, lady from the BBC, I think.
Hi, Mark. I appreciate it's a legal issue, and I know you want to resolve it, but I just wondered, are you able to give us any update on who is currently handling this matter and any time frame on when we might get a decision in this, given the implications? And secondly, I wondered, do you foresee a scenario where you might say there's no medal ceremony in this event during the Games because of the ongoing matter?
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but obviously even if I comment on who is actually handling this matter, I can talk abstractly about responsibilities, but even if I comment on who is handling this matter, it tells you what kind of matter it might be. So I'm not going to. There's a legal issue going on. I can't say anything more than that. And as for the other question about the award ceremony, at the moment it's speculation. I can't comment. I think we have to wait. Sorry, we have to wait with patience for this case to find its way to some kind of conclusion. I go to Reuters, who I think probably Carolus is going to ask me the same question, but hopefully something slightly different.
Carlos Grumer from Reuters. Thanks, Mike. Do you feel that the other athletes in this case, the Japanese and the Americans, are being treated with respect, given that for 4 days they've been waiting for a result, and the only thing we're hearing is a legal matter? And also, do you feel that there is a need for transparency in this case so that other athletes know where they stand in that competition? And if I may, a short one on Belarus. Do you feel you've done enough on Belarus, given that we've had another athlete who escaped the country after she was forced, a 17-year-old who was forced to stop competing, that Belarus is here with its flag and with its emblem and with an entire team? Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, I mean, obviously we ask for and hope for the patience and understanding of all the athletes involved here, but it is a legal case. I am bound by that legal case, as you are, and I'm unable to say anything more. On the Belarusian case, which if we're talking about the same one, is a case before the Games, which I understand was initially a disciplinary action between the NOC, the National Federation and the athletes for some breach. That has been raised. At the moment, it's purely a issue between them and FIS. If FIS want to look into it further, then they obviously will do. we've reiterated our call to the NOC and all IS to make sure that Belarusian athletes can compete safely without any discrimination. And you will have seen, and I won't go through them, but I'll remind those who may want to find them on our website, the actions we've already taken against the Belarusian NOC, the most important of which probably, I think, was that we suspended all financial payments to the NOC of Belarus, with the exception of payments related to athletes, scholarships, and the preparation of the Belarusian team for participation in the Games. So we have been taking action. We continue to take action. Those measures remain in place. But this issue, which was outside of the Games, in the first instance needs to be resolved, if it can be resolved, between the skier and the national federation, and then eventually with the international federation. Yeah, gentleman there.
Thanks. Question from Xinhua. I'll ask in Chinese. 我们都知道现在冰雪运动
We all
非
know
常危
that
险的，然后也有
winter
一些运动
sports
员
are
受伤了。
dangerous and
那请
some
问咱们
athletes
在
got
疫情
injured.
防控的前提
So
下，
my
如何
question
保证
is,
第一时
given
间
the
来对运动员进行救
precondition
治？
of
谢谢。
pandemic control, how do we provide first aid to the
马克，
athletes?
我想这个问题先
Mark,
请我们黄
maybe
春
we
先生
can
回
invite
答吧。
Mr. Huang Chun to take that question
好
first.
的，谢谢你关注我
Okay,
们
thank you for paying
整个冬奥
attention
会的一
to
个医疗
the
救治的工
medical
作。
rescue
事实
work
上呢，就
during the
是
games.
我们也知道啊，
We
冰
all
雪
know
冬季的
that
冰雪运
winter
动，它的
sports
风险性很大，
are
对抗性也比较
risky
强，
and
竞争也比较激烈。
confrontational and quite
所以鉴于这种
competitive.
情况，它的受伤
So
的
in such
概率非常大，
situations,
甚
the
至创
probability
伤、
of
骨折
athletes getting，
甚
injured
至
is
重
also
症，
higher
甚至还有
sometimes.
突然发生
With trauma,
一些死亡的一些意外的
fracture
情
of
况。
bones
所以基于
or other
基于它
more
的伤病的一些特点、
severe
运动的一些
accidents,
特
even
点，
death in
所以
some
我们必须有一
cases. So
支
because
强
of
大
such
的
features, we do
和专业
have,
的
we do
和
need
高水平的
a
一支
team
医疗
of
救治
very
队伍。
professional
所以说，我
and
们在
high
之前
level
就已经做好了
medical
充分的
experts,
应对准备。
for which
现在
we
目
have
前呢，
made
我们
full preparations
3个
for.
赛区呢，总
So
共
in all
有
three
3个冬奥
zones,
村
we
都有
have
综合诊所。另外呢，我们有138个医疗点儿，其中包括了我们的场地的医疗点儿、运动员的医疗点儿。再有呢，我们在场内呢设置了就是98辆的场内的救护车啊，随时保证能够转运到我们的定点医院。在这里边呢，我们在医务人员遴选方面，我们都是来自我们北京、河北的大医院的这些医护人员，而这专业团队、技术类力量都非常的强。从那个综合诊所，包括站点的设备配置，我们都是经过高水平的都是一些专业的设备，都是经过认证的。所有的我们的救治的流程、救治的标准，都经过国际奥委会的认证。但是就是目前来说，确实就是有一些受伤的人员，一旦是运动员发生了受伤的情况，我们第一时间会和他们的队医进行确认。确认之后，我们再会现场进行救治。一旦就是觉得就需要转院的情况下，我们通过我们的把它搬抬到我们的移出场外，送到救护车上，完了我们通过闭环转运我们指定的，我们有41家的定点的医疗机构。最快的急救转运呢5分钟可以到达，最长的也不会超过27分钟。紧急的情况下，比如在高山滑雪延庆和张家口，我们还各配备了两架的直升机救援。前一段阶段我们就直升机救援了一个伤者。截止到目前的情况看的话，我昨天的数字，总共的受伤人员是84人，全部都是轻伤就是没有重症的病例。所以我们也是通过我们及时、有效的、专业化的救治，所以确保我们的伤情稳定都是很稳定的。另外呢，也确保了我们赛事的顺利进行。所以这点从目前情况看，从医疗救治工作井然有序，就是没有出现什么意外。我们今后也希望我们的运动员在参与赛事的同时，也要保护好自己，尽量少受伤。好，谢谢您的提问。
马可先生，我再补充一下， 关于这个受伤的问题呢，也是历届冬奥会呢比较关注的问题。刚才我们的黄春专家呢已经和大家介绍了一些情况。我想呢，这个主要有这么几个方面。首先呢，我们这个的赛道场馆都是经过这个国际奥委会专家给予认证的，各方也给予了高度肯定。另外，在出现这种情况的时候呢，我们首先强调的是现场救治。我们现场的医疗点的医务人员呢，第一时间会和队医取得联系，在现场进行处置，能够有效的进行处置。第二呢，然后呢，我们就开始进行我们的联动机制。如果需要转院，在和队医协商完了之后，通过我们的快速通道、绿色通道，迅速的转移到后方的定点医院。第三呢，就是我们的专家支撑。在我们的定点医院，我们有多名的医务人员值守，轮班值守。这里面呢还有很多我们有63名专家，这63名专家当中还有10名院士，在提供高水平的专业的指导我们也关注到前2天呢，这个美国女子大回转运动的员奥布莱恩，他在社交媒体上也发文，对我们场馆和定点医院的医务人员给予了的帮助呢表示感谢当然呢，我们也会会同各方来共同做好这项工作。谢谢。
Yeah, gentlemen. Someone's already taken the podium, so yes, sir.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, please do.
I understand that the investigation of this situation with the awards for the team figure skating, that's being handled by someone else, and that you don't have any information because it's a legal issue. I'm wondering if this matter does wind up involving Russian athletes, whether the IOC is taking any steps to reevaluate the broader decision to allow Russia to compete here at these games under the provisions that were created. Is there going to be any reevaluation of that larger decision?
Quite a lot of speculation in that question, so I'm not actually going to go into if, then what, if, then if, so I can't answer.
So there's no preliminary work going on to look at that question?
I can't add to anything I've said at this stage because it might confirm or not confirm the story you have. Next gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. I'm Marcus Moore with ABC News. Thank you for taking my question. I have a couple for you. First, in terms of in a situation where there's an investigation into whether or not drugs were used, who is accountable for making sure the athletes who are competing are within the rules? Is it up to the countries themselves or the other organizations that you mentioned? And beyond that, in terms of the athletes and the world waiting for when the ceremony will happen, how much longer will the athletes and everyone watching have to wait?
On the second one, it depends on the legal process, as I've already explained, and hopefully I would imagine everyone is trying to work as quickly as they can for everyone involved. We understand, particularly the athletes involved, that they want to see this come to a good outcome, so we are working, or the people involved are working very, very quickly. In terms of your general question, all I would say is that generally speaking, there's a rule of strict liability for athletes in terms of if you're asking for a general question about drugs, but I would ask you to direct your question to those questions, the general questions about doping and responsibility to the ITA and to WADA, particularly in this case. As I say, we took the decision some few years ago to make sure that the investigation, testing and sanctioning were handled by independent organizations, independent of the IOC, so best to direct those questions to them, I may suggest. Yep, sir.
好，谢谢主持人，我是中央广播电视总台记者，想提问发言人赵卫东先生。首钢呢，因为迎接2008年北京奥运会，还首都一片蓝天呢，它实行了这种启动搬迁。那么又因为本届的冬奥会呢，它再次 走入大家的视野，又浴火重生。那么最近呢，有一些网友就关注了一个这个冷却塔，这个冷却塔呢很漂亮，是在这个首钢园大跳台的旁边，喷着我们北京冬奥会的这个会徽。那么请您给我们介绍一下这个冷却塔的背景。另外呢，我也想再提问一个问题，就是提给伊亚尼斯先生。就是您刚才也提到了啊，就是中央广播电视总台跟您这边有一个良好的合作。那么在整个的这个赛事的转播呢，有 8K 的转播和制作，还4K 的转播和制作，当然还有一些 8K 的这个信号。那么也请您一会儿帮我们评价一下跟我们总台合作的这样的一个情况，谢谢。
好，马克先生，我先回答他的第一个问题，然后请亚尼西斯先生回答他的第二个问题。刚才你所说的呢，我想你可能关注的也是社交媒体上的那个网文我也注意到，我们也注意到了社交媒体上的这篇网文。这篇网文竟然把钢铁企业的冷却塔说成了核设施，简直是天方夜谭，荒谬至极。我也注意到了，有许多国家的热心的网民已经在评论区进行了充分的科普，对此呢，我们也表示感谢。首钢滑雪大跳台，它是在首钢的工业园区里，这是冬奥历史上呢第一座与工业遗产再利用直接结合的竞赛场馆。它是利用首都钢铁公司的冷却塔等工业资源进行了升级改造，也是世界上首座永久性保留和使用的滑雪大跳台。过去的冬奥会的滑雪大跳台，这个比赛完了之后就会拆除，但是这座大跳台它将会永久的留下来。可以还跟你介绍的是呢，我们北京冬奥组委的办公就在这个首钢园区，和首钢大跳台呢距离很近。我和我的同事这几年每天都披星戴月在这里办公，筹办冬奥。国际奥委会主席巴赫主席也到首钢园区来考察过，他多次把首钢园区作为呢北京冬奥组委践行可持续发展和节俭办奥理念的典范，称之是让人惊艳的城市规划和更新范例。另外呢，这两天我们也注意到了一些西方媒体这个比如像这个《纽约时报》还有经济不是《纽约时报》，刚才我说错了这个路透社，好像是路透社和《经济学人》他们都报道了我们把首钢园区由一个工业园区转变为文化和体育休闲园区的故事，而且给予了充分的肯定。谢谢。
Thank you very much. I'm very happy whenever I speak about our relationship with CMG, which is not new. It goes back actually all the way to the Games of 2004 in Athens. That was the first time that the Olympic host broadcaster invited CCTV to participate in the coverage of some sport in the Olympic Games. It was at the time modern pentathlon and table tennis. The collaboration was excellent. I think it was the first international production that CCTV had participated in. Today, we're talking about an entirely different level. This collaboration has expanded so much. We have been using CMG and CMG production crews in some of the most complex productions that we do, both in the summer and the winter editions of the Games. And I must say that here in Beijing, it goes on a new level, especially with the collaboration in the production on 8K that we know is is a format for the future. Actually, this is a three-party collaboration between OBS, CMG, and the Japanese public broadcaster NHK. Both CMG and NHK are now among leading broadcasters in exploring new technologies, future technology in broadcasting, and we're very, very excited in collaborating with them. Allow me also to say that here in the Games of Beijing, 35% of the staff working for OBS, of the 4,000 people that we have to cover these games, come from China. And this is precisely because the maturity of this country in terms of technology, in terms of broadcasting techniques, has progressed so much. Many of them are human legacy from the Games of 2008. Many more are young, fantastic, enthusiastic professionals, very switched on all things digital, and we are very, very happy to have them in our operation. I'm sure many of them will continue with us in the future editions of the Games.
Thank you very much, Yanis. Yes, please, in the front there.
Good morning, Vanessa Lee with CTV Canadian Television. Mark, is it common for athletes to be allowed to compete if they have tested positive for a banned substance ahead of the Games?
It depends when that comes to light, I think. If they had been found beforehand, then I guess not. I'm not an expert, so I can't answer that question. But if you would like to put that question, I can put it to the experts. But I guess someone who's tested positive before the Games, it depends on a whole range of things. It's very difficult to talk in the abstract about abstract cases, but it depends on a whole range of circumstances. But I guess if that was uncovered, that would probably be very unlikely. There I can't comment any further. Yes, sir, there.
Thank you. Reporter with China Daily. Questions for Yanis. A quick follow-up here on these games being the most watched so far in China. You had any figures or statistics or analysis on what are those sports maybe particularly attractive to the audience here in China or most watched in China, or watched more than other sports in China? You also mentioned about these games' strong presence on social media. Do you have any figures or information about that in China as well? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that this more detailed demographic information will start arriving, and we will have to respect broadcasters themselves to be releasing them as they want. What I can tell you is what we see on our own digital platforms, because even though they do not carry the games, they do reflect very, very much the atmosphere and what's going on in the competition itself. So I don't want to distinguish very much, but I think that it's pretty evident that Bigger and the Eileen Gu moment is a moment that has a huge media impact around the world, and obviously in China, but I think it's a worldwide phenomenon. It was an incredible competition, incredible narrative. The atmosphere was fantastic. I think the images were very good, and obviously Eileen Gu is an athlete that really will be one of the icons of these games. I'm very happy because we have been following her performance all the way back to Lausanne. She was the one that did the narration, the voiceover for the 1 year to go video that we produced with the Olympic Channel. So we're very, very close to her. I would say that the big figures and stars appearing in figure skating are also drawing huge attention. And then also Alpine, as it develops, it has many, many peaks. But I would say specifically for each market, because it depends also on the performance of the athletes from the market, I think that's more appropriate that each broadcaster start disclosing their figures. For me, the most interesting thing will be the shift that we will see towards younger audiences that we also registered in Tokyo, which is very encouraging for sports.
Thank you. Yeah, gentleman down there would like a question, then the lady just in front.
Well, hello, Anthony Germain with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. My question is for Yanis. I was talking to some colleagues from Claro, Mexico City, and I was wondering, sometimes the Winter Olympics come under a bit of scrutiny because they don't appeal to every nation for obvious reasons. And I'm wondering if you have any ratings information for Central America, South America, and Africa.
As I said before, Timo and the ITMS team are collecting that. It's absolutely clear that there is a natural bias, I would say, in the Winter Games. You know, you're from Canada. For you, the Winter and Summer Games are almost equal, if not the winter more important. For many other countries, they don't have this development. We have 91 nations participating in the Winter Games. We have 206 participating in the summer edition. So this shows a divide. However, it's very interesting, and this is a trend that we already started noticing as of Sochi, more in Pyeongchang, far more here. You have interest, at least on the media level, from countries that traditionally would not even be watching the Winter Games. Some of them in Central Latin America, some of them from the Arab countries, and increasingly also from the African continent. This is a result of many factors. First of all, the wider distribution of signals and the wider options on digital for people to see and watch. Second, for the wider, it's a result also of globalization, even though we live in a delicate moment because of the epidemic. There's no doubt that people communicate, understand, go study in different countries, so start picking up winter sports. And also, I would be particularly interested in the results in Mexico in these games. We have an incredible star, an incredible personal story with a Mexican figure skater, which I think is going to be one of the stories of the games, a story, of the huge fighter, that all the evidence would be against him becoming a figure skater, and will be one of the icons of these games. We will see more stories like that we have seen in the past with the bobsleigh teams from Jamaica and so on. And for me, it is exciting for the Winter Games not to stay with the traditional countries only.
Yeah, I can only concur with you on that. I've seen the story of the Mexican figure skater. It's an amazing story. Looking forward to seeing him compete. And I should just add, by the way, that the two countries or two national Olympic committees, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Haiti, have athletes here for the first time among those 91 countries. So, as
and
Yanis
Greece
said,
has 5.
Greece has 5. So everyone's happy. Yes, lady here.
谢谢马克，我这个问题呢是问给冬奥会新发言人赵卫东先生的，因为我们根据天气预报显示啊，在本周末的时候天气会骤降，同时还有雨夹雪。那么我想问，在延庆，尤其是张家口，那么那边的赛事会不会调整？同时如果有改变的话，那么会改变哪些？而且我们也特别关注以运动员为核心，那么对于这些运动员还有哪些具体的保障措施呢？谢谢。
好，谢谢你的提问。我们也关注到了这几天的天气预报。未来几天呢，可能有冷空气南下，北京和张家口呢可能会出现小雪的天气。正像前2天呢，我们杨树安主席所说的关于天气的问题呢，冬季运动本身就包括了挑战大自然当然我们也要在尊重自然规律的前提下呢，尽可能的呢保障好赛事的正常顺利的举行同时也保障好这个运动员，包括工作人员和志愿者的这个安全和健康首先呢，这个方面呢，我们是尽量加强精准的天气预报。现在我们在延庆和张家口已经建立了立体式的这个天气监测的这个网络努力实现这个时间上、分钟级、空间上100米级的精准的气象预报。满足赛事的气象服务需求。另外，我们在各场馆也有气象预报的预报员。根据这个气象预报员呢，会把相关的数据呢，这个及时的提交给国际冬季单项体育联合会的技术专家然后由他们呢来决定是否变更，如何变更。赛程一般情况下呢，这个降雪不会对赛事进行 正常进行产生影响。但是呢，这个极端的天气下呢，我们也将与国际奥委会、国际单项体育联合会，包括奥林匹克转播服务公司等利益相关方密切协作，及时启动这个竞赛日程的变更的相关的程序，最大限度的减少不利的影响。同时，我们这个调整的这个相关的信息也会及时在 info 系统和官网上给予公布，请大家关注另外，据我们了解呢，我们相关的场馆也在做好了准备，就扫雪除冰这个防寒的物资以及这个除雪的人员和车辆的防滑等工作呢，在做预案以便不时之需这个同时呢，我也提醒咱们的记者朋友们，如果去现场采访，也要记得带好保暖的衣服。谢谢。
Yeah, gentleman there, and then lady behind. Yeah, gentleman.
Bonjour, je vais poser cette question en français. Je suis Bruno Fraioli de sportbusiness.club. J'ai une question sur les contenus. Les contenus qui sont donnés aux diffuseurs, et notamment, Monsieur Exarchos, vous avez indiqué qu'il y avait des contenus spécifiques pour la Chine. Alors pourquoi un flux spécifique pour la Chine? Est-ce qu'il y a des données ou des contenus qui sont censurés uniquement pour ce territoire? Merci.
Yanis, that's for...
No, I never said that.
No, I think he was just asking,
no.
But I think the answer is no.
No, the answer is no. I didn't say that. On the contrary, I said that, as you know, and as has been the commitment, we are all using unfiltered internet to do our job here. No, there's no data that is specific.
Yes, let's Phil Barker, and then we'll come to AP. Yeah, Phil.
Good morning, Kalimera Yanis.
Kalimera.
This is a question for you, sir. Two questions, actually. The first one is, you talk of all the digital platforms. Are you ever concerned that there's so much information that it's impossible for anybody to consume it on more than a very superficial level, because you've got so much out there? The other question is about, you were talking about having teams back at base being able to operate. For the commentators, how can they communicate the passion and the true Olympic values if they're not on site? I know from personal experience, it's a darn sight easier when you're in the stadium.
Thank you very much. Two very, very important questions. The first one is a more general philosophical question, because it doesn't have to do specifically about sports, and it has to do, with the multiplication of the offering of content and how can you help focus. I believe that it is an issue. What is for us important is to offer many different options and many different types of content, because people have preferences. I'm not saying that they prefer to consume only very short-form content, but we need to meet their needs when they want to consume short-form content, when they want to chat, but also when they want to sit back and enjoy a full competition. The approach that we are taking on the Olympic platform specifically is a very diverse one. So if you go to Olympics.com, you will see a diversity of content that you can choose. You can choose some of the best content I think that we produce is actually long form. We recently launched two long feature films. One is the story of legendary Peekaboo, the American skier, which is a story directed by Lindsay Vonn and Frank Marshall. It's her directorial debut. And Frank Marshall, who is a legendary producer Steven Spielberg, many films in Hollywood. And the other is the story about the unexpected win of the curling team of GB in Salt Lake City. These are clearly stories that you can immerse yourself, take your time, allow yourself to get into the narrative and understand the details. I totally share with you the concern that the overwhelming offering of content can sometimes be disorienting. I cannot say that it is a problem that collectively as media we have cracked on levels. Of course, there are more intelligent ways today of looking into content that's relevant to you, but I also agree that the over-profiling from the point of view of the platforms is a dangerous thing. To be fed only with the things that you expect will deprive of some of the nicer things that the internet world can offer. It is a wider problem for digital media. It's an important one. It's not specific to sports. What we have to do in order to promote the Olympic Games and make sure that everybody can reach out to the Games is to produce content for all possible platforms and all possible narratives. Regarding the question about commentators, it is true that the exact atmosphere in the venue can never be replicated. But also it is true that the investment from many operators or many broadcasters to bring all the commentators for all the sports in the host city is a very big one. Maybe not everyone has this capability. So what we are trying to do as host broadcaster is to provide them with as many possibilities as we can to simulate this operation remotely, provide them real live data to understand what's going on in the field of play, alternative views, alternative options from the venues to understand it better. There's no doubt that the elements that have to do with physical presence are the ones that need to survive. So having journalists doing interviews in the venues, yes, this is something that needs to remain there. Having commentators, yes, I believe that. I would say that having directors directing needs to stay there, and producers. But it's not the same for other functions of our business where you do something in an enclosed space for 25 days. You might as well do it in the other part of the world today. So that is a choice that you need to make. Ourselves, we have many people operating remotely in these games, but they are not our directors. They are not the ones who are producing content. It's other functions which are supportive.
Thank you, Yanis. We're coming up to the hour mark, so this is probably the last question. Steve, if you want to... Yeah.
Stephen Wade, AP. Mark, Yanis was just talking about all the content we have, all the production we're having, and yet the big story this morning is about this case, this legal case that you can't talk about. Is it concerning to the IOC that these sort of issues, 3 or 4 days into the games, already take precedent in this press conference? Legal issues, cases about doping, when you want to focus on the sports?
Yeah, I think the vast majority of people at home are following the sport, enjoying the sport in their different countries. Sadly, we can't have all the spectators that we would like here, but I think generally speaking, and even if you look at the coverage in newspapers, it's generally about the sport, which is what people want to hear about. We don't want to hear about the other stuff, but it arises, it's life, and so has to be dealt with properly, has to be dealt with in a proper, transparent way, a legal way, and we will deal with it, and we will deal with it as quickly as possible. But I think it shouldn't, and it doesn't take away from the magic of the games, which I think the vast majority of people, when I speak to my mother last night, they are loving the games. People are loving watching the sport, and that's what these games are about. It's about sport. So, yeah, we do our best. And thank you very much, everyone. That's a wrap, I think, and we are back tomorrow again, and we're going to talk about legacy tomorrow, because there's a considerable legacy. I think 5 of the venues here are from 2008. There's a lot of legacy going forward. So thank you very much indeed, and I will see you again for another hour of fun and games at 11 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. 谢谢.
circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service. This is the primary audio circuit for the Reuters live service.
2021中天乘风破浪，观看次数翻倍成长。中天关台后至今1年，总观看次数达24亿次。转型后获得更多观众认可，其中新闻类内容最高单日观看次数更突破1200万次，创下新高纪录。中天观众具高粘性和高沉浸感。SimilarWeb 在2020年12月公布的台湾数据，使用者每次到访 YouTube 的停留时间为23分23秒。中天在 YouTube 的24小时新闻直播，每位观众平均每次观看时间长达近30分钟。中天在 YouTube 触及更广大的群众。根据财团法人台湾网络资讯中心发布的2020年台湾网络报告，台湾12岁以上的整体上网人数为1778万人。中天频道家族平均1个月不重复的观看人数就超过1500万人。今年5、6、7月不重复的观看人数更超过了1800万人。中天影片最受观众喜欢。统计2020年11月到2021年10月这1年中，新闻与政治类频道每月获得最多喜欢的 Top 10影片，中天就占了91%，其中正常发挥影片更占了59%，在所有频道当中拿到第1名。转型到网络后的中天，仍专注做好新闻内容，获得广大网友肯定。有中天，有真相，重大事件看中天。